Every coin has two sides, and if Strawberry Fields Forever is on one side, then you better believe Penny Lane is on the other. One for John Lennon and one for Paul McCartney, stepping in line with John Lennon's masterful piece Strawberry Fields Forever, when Lennon takes us on a surreal journey through his childhood, through his mindset while he was composing the song. Paul McCartney answers the call with a reminiscent composition about his time before the fame, before the Beatles mania, when he was just a kid having to catch the bus, and in turn gave us an honest and artistic perspective on the life of a much younger Paul McCartney. This is the story of Penny Lane. In the music room of 7 Cavendish Avenue, down the street from Abbey Road Studios, Paul is writing the beginnings of Penny Lane, on a psychedelically painted upright piano created by artist David Vaughan. Paul had wanted to create a memory song, as he puts it, to stand alongside John Lennon's Strawberry Fields. This was the heyday of the songwriting duo, when they worked together like the best friends they are. Paul says, "We were often answering each other's songs, so it might have been my version of a memory song, but I don't recall. It was childhood reminiscence. There's a bus stop called Penny Lane. There was a barbershop called Bioletti's, with headshots of the haircuts you could have in the window, and I just took it all and arted it up a bit to make it sound like he was having a picture exhibition in his window. It was all based on real things. There was a bank on the corner, so I imagined the banker. It was not a real person, and his slightly dubious habits, and the little children laughing at him, and the pouring rain. The fire station was a bit of poetic license. There's a fire station about a half-mile down the road, not actually in Penny Lane, but we needed a third verse, so we took that, and I was very pleased with the line, 'It's a clean machine.' I still like that phrase. You occasionally hit a lucky little phrase, and it becomes more than a phrase. So the banker and the barbershop and the fire station were all real locations." The Beatles always had a knack for imagery in their songs. In a way, that's probably why they stood the test of time so well. What began as pop love songs eventually evolved into songs that painted a picture, whether it be completely fabricated events like When I'm 64, or ones that discussed intimate artistic interpretations of John or Paul's life. Although mainly composed by Paul, John certainly collaborated. As Paul recalls, Lennon coming over to help him with the third verse. Paul says, "We were writing childhood memories, recently faded memories from 8 or 10 years before. So it was real nostalgia, pleasant memories for both of us. All the places were still there, and because we remembered it so clearly, we could have gone on." And remember they did, which is why they even incorporated a little PG-13 joke in the middle of this rather innocent song. Referencing the phrase "for a fish and finger pie," Paul says finger pie was just a little joke for the Liverpudlian lads, who, as he puts it, liked a bit of smut. It was mostly harmless, and I like that the Beatles didn't take everything so seriously. In my opinion, that adds to the charm of their music, and it apparently did so for millions as well. As we know, Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane were released as singles, even though they were initially planned to be released on their 8th album, which ended up being Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And incidentally, George Martin thinks this was a mistake in hindsight. He says, "The only reason that Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane didn't go onto the new album was a feeling that if we had issued a single, it shouldn't go onto an album. That was a crazy idea, and I'm afraid I was partly responsible. It's nonsense these days, but in those days it was an aspect that we would try to give the public value for money. The idea of a double A-side came from me and Brian Epstein, really. Brian was desperate to recover popularity, and so we wanted to make sure that we had a marvelous seller. He came to me and said, 'I must have a really great single. What have you got?' I said, 'Well, I've got 3 tracks, and 2 of them are the best tracks they've ever made. We could put the 2 together and make a smashing single.' We did, and it was a smashing single, but it was also a dreadful mistake. We would have sold far more and got higher up the charts if we had issued one of those, say, with When I'm 64 on the back. That wasn't the only setback. Sadly, the single, even though it did incredibly well, didn't top the UK charts, being beaten out by Engelbert Humperdinck's Release Me. Maybe it was just poor timing or poor luck in general, but Penny Lane as a work of art is surprisingly real and honest, and truly depicts the duality of the Lennon-McCartney writing duo in a perfect fashion. Where John Strawberry Fields was spiritual and playfully blurred time and reality, Penny Lane was grounded and charming, and poked fun at the mundane in an appreciative way. No other band could have written a song about a fire truck, children laughing at an old banker, a barber, and of course, finger pies. If you enjoy these videos and want to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. My videos will always be free, and this is a great way to help me make them better for you. Check out my debut album, The HollyHobs, on Spotify and Apple Music, and click the like button, subscribe, and notification bell because that is the best way to get notified when a new video is released. See you next time.